Hey, look at that. We're live again. Holy cow, 2025. I hope you all had a great new year. This is amazing. We made it. We made it to see another year. Let's hope we can finish it out. And I want to thank you guys for staying with me for another year. This is great. I really appreciate y'all. I got one of those little things on the YouTubes that tell you your views and stuff for the year. I had like 75,000 views. That's nothing. That's nothing to sneeze at, folks. And it's because of you guys that keep me going. Because your support and everything, it just means the world to me. But you know, I lost my train of thought already. As we're just starting out, and I've lost my train of thought. But I'm also on the Spotify's, the iTunes, and all that stuff. This is great, man. If you could leave one of those likes and subscribes and stuff if you're new, leave a review on the Spotify. I say this so much that I forget what I'm even saying. Plus, I'm just so excited about who we have on tonight, man. This guy has been teaching the world how to be a better biker, and he's going to be all humble and stuff and say he doesn't. He's just putting out videos because he wants to entertain. But let's bring him out without further ado. Let's bring out Aaron Super Rider.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. This is fun, and congrats, 75,000 views. That's massive. That's gotta feel good.
Yeah, it felt good. I think one of it was I did pretty good on a short.
It still counts. It all counts.
It still counts. It still counts. But I think a lot of the longtime views are right here from here. And these guys, we were talking about this earlier about the dedication and the people that come onto these things. We've already got some people in the comment section. Can I bring them on?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Trail Monster Neil is in the house. He's going to lightly heckle you tonight.
I'm here for it. I sent out a little something. I said, you can come hang out, ask questions, lightly heckle me. I'm down for it. I'm just excited to talk about bikes with more people. I'm, like I was telling you before, I'm just mostly, on the trail and talking to the camera, sitting in this office, editing a bunch. It's nice to just actually have people to talk to about bikes.
Oh, we can talk all you want. This is all about you. Matty Trail Pimp here. He's out of Tahoe, I think. He says hello. We got Run Bike Mike in the house. Yeah, 75,000. That's ridiculous. I'm really, really happy. Mike, thanks for hopping on. I think he's on a Zwift right now watching.
Nice.
You want to ride? I don't know about you. Can you sit on something and just not move?
I did a fair bit of Zwifting during the early days of the pandemic. I went and I got those glowing wheels, which I think you have to do like an Everesting thing or something like that. I did a lot of climbing just to get those glowing wheels. And then I think after I hit that, I was like, okay, I think I'm good. I want to ride my bike outside again. But yeah. I did my time on Zwift for sure. Like probably just everyone else too.
So we got a Peloton over here. I bought that for my wife, and I've done a few, but it's just, I can't. And then there's no movement.
Yeah. I just wonder, do you think any of those coaches can actually ride? I think Matt Wilpers is probably good on like like a road bike or something, but I wonder if anybody who is a Peloton trainer can actually ride a bike. Do you think?
I don't, that's a good question. I know they can ride, but sure. Can they ride, like go hit a trail or something? I'm sure they can get on a bike and go on the street for as long as they want.
That would be a really fun series to see, like taking the riders out of the studio and like into the trails. I'd be 1,000% down for that. That'd be super fun.
There you go, man. Peloton, if you're listening or watching, Aaron will take one of you guys out. We got Yarno over here. He's saying hello there. Finland, folks.
Oh, very cool.
Finland right now. Look at that. It's like 3 a.m. Holy cow. Holy cow. Yep, he's Zwifting. My buddy Dave Urell's here. Holy cow, look at you. You're bringing him in here.
Excited.
Dave Urell saying what's going on. Mike's at 100,000 feet to get the Tron bike, I believe.
Yeah, it was a big effort. And it's just so you can have glowing wheels on your bike, which is a bit of a flex when you're passing people in Zwift, I guess. Like, that's a lot of effort. 100,000 feet of climbing is... Yeah, that took me a while to get to. That was not a singular effort by any means.
No. Zach, the Tumor Warrior, No, dude, you're not late. You just made it on time. We just started. And then we got Teddy Parker here, big fan of Aaron's. Wonder if he has any experience in motor trials given his extensive bike trials experience.
Oh, that's a great
Oh,
question.
we're starting right off. There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, let's dive in. I've actually ridden a motor trials bike twice, I think, and it's something that I've been thinking about getting a little bit more into. I went to a motor trials event not too long ago. There was an Oregon National just a couple hours away from my house, and I saw a bunch of people that were a little bit older that were riding motor trials bikes, and I had this
Mhm.
thought of like, "Ooh, it looks a lot like e-bikes, and it also looks like something I could do as sort of like later in life. Like the skills that I've got from riding bike trials could probably transfer over here. The motor seems kind of nice, and the style of riding that they're doing seems approachable. So I think I've got moto trials like kind of flagged for maybe in 10 years or something like that. But
What about,
also I'm running out of space in my garage for bikes, so like adding motorcycles in there seems,
mm,
you know.
sounds like a big problem. I got too many bikes. What what about those uh motorcycles? What are those things called? I see them everywhere down here, and they just
Yeah.
wheeling in.
Oh, like the Saurons or whatever
Yeah,
they're
the
called?
Swarms or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's for me.
You don't
I
think you could?
I don't know. I've seen a lot of kids ripping around my neighborhood in those, and it just those actually scare me because they look like you can go way faster than you should be able to go on those
Yeah,
things. I was talking to somebody about it, and I was like, I think there's a level of which you need to get your bike handling in place before you start going that fast. And the kids that I see riding these bikes have not put the time in on the bikes to be going as fast as they're going. And I don't know.
I
That's like the old man, the dad in me being like, "Arr,"
don't
But
know if those kids are ready for that speed. So to dial it back, where are you at right now? What state? What city? Where are you from?
So I'm in Portland, Oregon right now. I'm originally from Wisconsin. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin. I had, I think, 5,000 people in my hometown, and
Oh
we had
wow.
a little mountain bike area by where I grew up. But there wasn't, as you can imagine, any downhill. There wasn't really anything, no dirt jumps, no skate parks, no anything when I grew up. And so trials actually ended up being one of the things that I picked up because it was one of the few things that you could do anywhere and you
Yeah,
could progress without needing to go to a mountain. You could learn so much bike control just on flat ground. And in fact, because I grew up in Wisconsin, a lot of the riding that I did was actually in my parents' basement during the winters. So I would just ride around. I'd have some pallets down there practicing front wheel, back wheel, riding up and over stuff. And then when the snow would melt, then I could go out and ride the mountain bike trails and apply all that stuff to the trails.
yeah.
So a lot of the training that I did, all the practicing I did was me just like killing time waiting for winter to end when I was growing up. And then I would go and compete in trial stuff and do demos and stuff like that. But that's really kind of how I got my start growing up in the Midwest where there weren't mountains to ride. It
Yeah.
wasn't really like great riding weather most of the year. And it's sort of like, yeah, it finds a way, right?
I I love that trial stuff. I remember the first time I saw a guy. I was living out in LA and I was living in Westwood, and I used to, back when I was younger, I used to jump things and go downstairs. So we would go to UCLA, me and my buddy. We would ride our bike to UCLA. It was right down the street, and just go down the stairs and jump off, restraining walls and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And I remember seeing this guy on a trials bike. I didn't know what it was back then. It was like 20 some years ago. And it had no seat. It had just like this thing on where their seat would be. And the
Right.
handlebars were way out there. And he was doing stuff over a fountain right down this big staircase in UCLA. I don't know if you've ever been to UCLA. There's a lot of stairs. And I remember, and I was like, what do you do? What is that? Like, I didn't know what it was. And it was like, he goes, oh, it's a trials bike. And I'm like, what is trials?
Yeah,
And then he's,
it's so obscure, and the name trials doesn't really mean anything if you haven't come from a moto trials background. That's where it kind of came from, and
yeah,
it was a discipline of moto, and it made its way over into mountain biking. Actually, back in the day when Norba first started, which was like one of the original North American mountain bike series that happened all over the place, you used to have to compete in downhill, cross country, and trials. So actually, a lot of riders had to learn how to compete. And of course, it wasn't as crazy as it is now. It's just, back then it was like riding up and over logs and on balance lines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was actually part of the stuff that everyone had to learn. And interestingly enough, that was the last time, other than a few, shining moments over the past decade or so, but really, like, that's when the American dominance in the World Cup and the World Championships was happening, when that was sort of part of the national series. And then it went away, and then we had kind of a lull for a little bit, and then
Wow.
a couple people started bringing it back. But yeah, I wonder if that had something to do with it. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like you'd be. I said it in your description. I think being that good on a trials bike, being able to handle the bike and the balance and to do all that stuff, you're instantly a good
Yep.
mountain biker.
This is I put something in this about I do a newsletter every week, and in the newsletter I have a section where I just do like a little editorial thing. And the thing that I've been screaming into the void for like 2 decades now is that learning trials will actually like enhance your riding in a major way. And the thing that happens is, like, most people would watch Greg Minnaar race a World Cup and get inspired and be like, I want to ride fast through the woods. That's so cool. But like, you see that and you get inspired. This is a guy that, like, no mere mortal is going to ride like Greg Minnaar anytime soon, right? Like, we're not going to get anywhere close to this rider at his peak. But then people can watch another rider at his peak, Danny McCaskill, and be like, oh, I could never do that. And that's the part that kind of scratches my head, because actually the fundamentals of what Danny's doing on a trials bike would impact most people's day-to-day riding a lot more than the top end stuff that Greg Minnaar is doing. But because you're looking at this guy doing stuff that doesn't even seem fathomable, it somehow is like, nope, I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to start with any of that.
Yeah, well,
And
he's riding on a chain.
okay, that's what I mean. Like, that's unfathomable. But balance lines, which is where he started with that whole thing, is something that anybody could absolutely do. And so a lot of the stuff that I'm teaching through Instagram or YouTube or really anywhere is based in trials fundamentals. And I'm kind of switching it into mountain bike. Here's how you could do this thing on a mountain bike. So my YouTube channel started out as a trials channel. I had trials bikes. I was doing trials specific stuff. And even though I rode mountain bikes and everything else, and somebody came up to me at Sea Otter and they hey, I love your channel. I've been watching all your videos. I'm getting a lot from them. And I asked him, I said, well, what kind of trials bike do you have? He's like, oh, no, I ride a mountain bike. I just think it's really helpful for my mountain bike. I'm like, exactly. And then the next day at Sea Otter, somebody else came up to me. He's like, oh, I love your videos. What kind of trials bike do you have? No, I just use a mountain bike. And like, the light bulb went on. I was like, wait a minute. If I just did the same tutorials, but on a mountain bike, I bet I could actually make a meaningful impact on people's skill development and share the way that we do this stuff that maybe it's just not being taught in this way. And I think a trials rider really breaks things down to like the smallest piece and then perfects that one piece. And then they work on the next piece and perfects that. And then you put those two together and then you could do this thing. And so that's sort of like my mindset, like how I teach stuff is like, let's take this one skill, explode it into 50 different things, teach each one of those things, and then put it back together. Voila, you've got a skill, right?
Man, you got it all figured out. You got the recipe for success. Let's go back here. Triple flip 7. Yo, Aaron, it's your buddy Chris back from the Segment Podcast about the history of MTB.
What's up, Chris? What's up?
Chris, like and subscribe. Thank you. We got, will you and Dylan run Margie?
I'm not sure what that is. Maybe Marin, because I'm wearing a Marin shirt right now.
Oh, maybe.
So Dylan's my my co-host for the Second Nature podcast that we do, which is like a industry podcast about the business of the outdoor industry. Dylan is an ultra runner that I signed when I worked at Red Bull, and then he started a running podcast and YouTube channel while I started the mountain bike side, and then we kind of came together and started this thing. So I've been talking about getting him on a mountain bike because he lives just outside of Marin, and obviously I ride for Marin now, so there's a good there's a good excuse to get all of us together to ride bikes.
Oh man, JT the Dusty Dutchman's in the house. He's Zwifting too, I think. Octodad out of New Zealand. What's going on, Marty? How you doing? Uh, say something. I'm trying to catch up, man. You got everybody in here. Dan Fields, Danny Boy, his newsletter is excellent, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. We're 65 weeks into the newsletter, and it's been fun putting that together. I just the newsletter is basically just starting your week off with the best mountain bike videos on the internet. So I try to like curate a list of stuff so that when you get into work on Monday morning and you're kind of just, needing some distraction, there's a newsletter that has 3 of the best mountain bike videos from the previous week, an Instagram clip that's kind of crazy, pieces of news, a couple other videos and tidbits here and there just to kind of round things out, just to kind of get your week off to the right start.
Well, you guys got to subscribe to this newsletter, folks. You got your Monday morning coffee. You got like an egg, or I don't know what's going on for your breakfast, and you're just checking it out. You're having a good time. Brian on a bike, we were just talking about him earlier, and it clicks so much easier that way with the balance and stuff we were talking about. Oh man, look at this. You got them all coming in. Big fans. I got to be honest with you though. When I posted that I was going to have you on, people were DMing me like, this guy has helped me so much.
Oh,
I look forward to his videos, to try something new that week, because each week or I don't know. Yeah, it's almost every day I put on their Instagrams and there he is. What's that like? Do you get that kind of feedback and does it make you feel all good inside that you're actually doing something for the community?
I think so. I mean, I don't necessarily get a lot of the feedback. If I'm honest with you, a lot of the videos I'm making, I'll post it. And then I always joke with Eric Porter that I kind of post and ghost, because what happens is the videos I think are really helpful to a lot of people, but then it'll get sent to somebody that's a more advanced rider that will leave kind of a rough comment about like, yeah, obviously. And, like you gotta keep your brain in check during all this stuff. When you're spending hours and hours and hours working on editing and brainstorming stuff and, going out and fighting the elements to go get this one clip and then taking it back and editing it, doing the voiceover, like a lot of work goes into all the videos that I put out, whether it's Instagram or YouTube. And I don't know. I just, to preserve my own mental health, as like fragile as that might sound, I just don't really read much of the comments, because a lot of people, also it's like 99 people can say really great positive stuff, but then that one person says something and it just like ruins the entire day.
Come on, man.
So
why everybody gotta hate?
It is funny though. Like I was saying to you before, it's like I'm mostly just at the trailhead over here filming stuff, or here in the house editing stuff, or I used to have a warehouse where I did a lot of the trials videos. So a lot of the stuff is actually really solitary. And the only time I really get to interact with people is like going to a place like Sea Otter, or, we ride every week here in Portland at this place not too far from here with a bunch of local friends that I've known forever. But I don't really get to interact with a lot of the people unless I go to events and stuff like that. So it's always a really cool feeling when that does happen. When I was at Sea Otter this past year, I was actually talking to Hans Ray, he was the guy for me that I learned all that stuff from. Wow. And somebody came up to me while I was talking to Hans and like said all that to me, like, oh man, I love your videos. And I felt amazing. And then to be like, do you realize like this is Hans Ray right here? This is the guy that did it for me. It was such a cool moment for that to happen, for him to be there, like the guy that inspired me to get on a bike and to do all this stuff. And then to get, somebody come up at the same time was so cool.
That's awesome. Do you now? Maddie'd like to know, is that a Rampage picture behind you?
Yeah. This is Carson Storch. The year that he won Best Trick, it's his 360. It's kind of hard to see because it's like lots of browns and blacks, but I worked at Red Bull for 12 years and I was one of their athlete managers. So I would sign and scout athletes, and mountain biking obviously is my passion and the thing I was most excited about. So this world champs jersey behind me is Kate Courtney's. I signed both Kate and Carson to Red Bull. So
Oh,
I got to
wow.
do a lot of really cool stuff when I was there. I worked with Rebecca Rush, Joel Kintner, Pace McElvin. This right here, this gold plaque is actually an Emmy from the film Any One of Us. I don't know if you've seen that one.
No.
Paul Bascodia had a spinal cord injury at Red Bull Rampage one year, and we ended up making a documentary with him based
Wow.
on kind of like, it's essentially like the field guide to spinal cord injury. So like what happens when you get hurt? Because after he got hurt, there's not like a lot of information out there about like what you're supposed to do or where you
Yeah.
should go or what you can expect. And so we made kind of like this film that's essentially like a field guide where we have Paul going through his experience, and then we had what we called the chorus, which was like 10 people who had also had different spinal cord injuries, but from different stuff. Like one guy got hurt surfing, and then there was a basketball car accident, fell off a roof, and they're telling their story kind of at the same time that he's living that phase of the story. So you
Wow.
get all these different perspectives on it. Anyway, the film is called Any One of Us. And if you have HBO Max, it's actually
Oh,
on there for like the next 10 years or whatever. So
that's
um, obviously
everybody
it's,
get on it.
yeah, it's obviously like pretty heavy, but
Yeah.
Paul is so resilient in like what he's accomplished since the accident is really incredible. And yeah, that did not expect to have an Emmy on my wall from
Or
working at Red Bull, but
how about the one directly behind you? Look at that. We're all sitting there drooling over that one, folks, being a
yeah,
bunch of content creators that we are.
yeah, that was a big milestone. That happened in April of this year. And I actually got to go to the YouTube office to pick it up.
What?
So my friend Chris works at YouTube in London, and I ended up quitting my job this April,
I was
and
about to
like
ask you
just
that.
going in to focus in on making content full time, which has been a little rocky, but hey, we're here,
Yeah.
and you got to get uncomfortable and whatever. But uh, I took my son over to Europe, his first trip over to Europe, and we went to London and went to the YouTube office and picked it up. My friend Chris like arranged for us to get it there and stuff. So we had a
Wow.
little rooftop ceremony, but yeah, pretty cool. I mean, honestly, like big milestone, big important thing. And yeah, my last day of work full time, I hit 50K on Instagram and 100K on YouTube at the same time on my last day. So it sort of felt like this sign
Wow.
from the universe, like, all right, you'll figure it out,
So where were you working before you just said we're done?
So I was at so I worked at Red Bull
Red
for
Bull.
12 years. I was at Aura, the ring, like the tracks your sleep and stuff like that for a
Oh,
year and
yeah.
a half after that. And then I went to go work for this biotech company called Abbott, and they just launched this thing called Lingo. It's like a continuous glucose monitor that you can use to modify like how you're eating and exercising and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So yeah, anyway, so I just really felt like all the signs were pointing to like, hey, this is going in the right direction. People seem really interested in what you have to say and what you're doing. And what if I could dedicate all of my time to that? And so that was sort of the moment where I was like, I think it's let's just do it. And yeah, like I said, it hasn't been like the easiest, most straightforward year by any means. My wife was sharing this anecdote from Jesse Itzler, who's like a famous speaker or whatever, and he was talking about this idea of making pancakes and how when you're making pancakes, usually the first round of pancakes that you make are kind of
Yeah.
messed up, like maybe the pan's not hot enough, or maybe
Or it's
just
too
whatever.
hot and you get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, you always kinda mess up the first pancake, but then after you get, like, the second round on, it's, like, perfect from there on the rest of the
Yeah.
way, and so I'm just gonna consider, like, year 1 as, like, the first pancake, and, it's only onwards and upwards from here, you
Oh
know?
man, now I want pancakes, dude. And even that first one, you still roll it up and dip it in a little while you're
Oh, yeah.
making the other ones. You're like, I'm gonna put a little syrup on that. You got me all thrown off with pancakes now. You got a big guy here and you throw carbs at me and I'm in heaven. But congratulations on that, because I guess that's not an easy move, I'm sure, to take away from that security. Like that's always been my biggest problem with doing anything is that I've got health insurance. I've got a paycheck every 2 weeks. I've got, it's one of those things where my wife and I have always talked about like just quitting and just going and check out the world in a van or whatever, do that van life.
Yeah.
I think it's a little scary, but kudos for you doing it.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I I got to see the other side of the world of working with athletes, working with creators, doing sponsorships and stuff from the Red Bull and Aura side of things. So I understood like how everything worked. I just needed to then flip to the other side of it and apply that into, what I'm doing now. And I think
Yeah.
I'm just really starting to scratch the surface. But Marin came on board this year, and so I'm like working with them now full time, and writing for them. And so, I think it's like one of these things where I'm just trying to bring as much value as I can to the partners who are supporting me early on. And hopefully, yeah, we can add a couple more to the program. But ultimately, I'm having a good time, and I've been working really hard for a really long time. So even if this year isn't the most lucrative year of all time, it's fine. It'll be all right. It'll
Yeah,
work
you'll
out.
be all right. You'll be able to sleep at night. And
Yeah.
you get to do that. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You're riding a bike.
Yes. Yeah, if we can't be happy talking about and riding bikes all the time, then something is really wrong.
Yeah, I don't get, and you get to now, are you regimented? Are you very strict about when you have to do these videos? You like, okay, I got to get up at this hour. I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna do a video. I'm gonna script it. Or is it just like, well, I'll sit on the couch and watch, Wheel of Fortune until
Yeah.
something comes up.
You know what's funny? Before I quit my job, I think it was actually easier to be regimented about it. And part of that was that I had a warehouse where I was filming a lot of stuff indoor. And I would go there every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 5 a.m. and I'd film as much as I possibly could before I had to head back home and like get my kids ready for school and stuff like that.
Oh,
Um, Yeah, yeah, we just wake up early here. I don't know. It's like my one time before the kids wake up to get anything done. So whether it's like exercising or editing or
yeah,
literally anything I can do. But yeah, the warehouse I had for I think 3 full years, and I just started that with the idea of like I don't have to worry about rain. I don't have to worry about uh any, if it's night or whatever. Like I can just
yeah,
always film no matter what. Just flip the lights on and make a YouTube video, and that made it really easy to be consistent. So when I actually quit my job, I let go of the lease there because yeah, just to like save costs and stuff like that. And also I had this idea that I can just ride outside. Why
yeah,
I don't need to have a warehouse anymore. But then, to your point, like being consistent when the weather is funky or you got to do other stuff, family stuff or whatever, it makes it actually harder. So in a way, it was almost easier when I did have a job because every second that I had that wasn't dedicated to family or work was dedicated to that. Now it's like, uh, yeah, it's a little bit trickier.
Go back to work. You'll get no, I really, I would love to do that. Like, not to quit the job, but be focused on creating. You get, because that's where the success comes from, is being consistent and putting it out.
Yeah.
And I just cannot, I can't bring myself to. I am the laziest human being on the planet. It's
There,
so easy to not
there's a
do.
really great book. If you're a reader, you should check out this book called The War of Art. It's by Stephen Pressfield.
The
And
war.
the War of Art.
Okay, I'm on it.
Not the Art of War is a different book. The
Yeah.
War of Art. So this guy is like a famous writer, and he wrote this book. It's pretty short. You could probably get through it in like a day or so.
Oh,
And it's like each page is like kind of a thought. It's not like all the way whatever. And it's broken into 3 different parts. He has this concept called the resistance. And the resistance is anything that's like getting in your way, that's preventing you from accomplishing your task, whether it's staying consistent, putting out a video, lining up a podcast, whatever it could be,
yeah.
writing. And the first third of the book really helps you identify the resistance in your life. This is what it could be. This is a thing that might be impacting, and it gives you a chance to kind of like name it to tame it.
Oh, wow.
And then the second part of the book is about kind of defeating the resistance. Like this is how you push back against it. And then the third part is like this is what happens when you move past the resistance. It
Wow.
does seem a little woo woo, right? But honestly, like this book is how I start every single year because it's like the most perfect kick in the pants to just like get back after it again. I feel like we slow down in the holidays, everything kind of
Mhm.
like chills out, and
Yeah.
then it takes a minute to like rev back up and it might not kick in for a little bit. So this book, The War of Art, has been like my perennial January 1st read for like the last 3 or 4 years, and it's like it's a quick one, but it's so motivating, and I think it's like one of the things that I hold on to that idea throughout the year, and when January comes around, I probably need a little boost again, but, it's a great way to kinda kick off the year, and it's like I said, it's pretty quick. You could do it in a day.
Oh, I'll get well, I it might take me a week. I mean, you talk about woo-woo, I'm on therapy and stuff, so I'm good with woo-woo. Um, dropping gems, folks. You know, you're talking bikes, and now we're talking about motivation. Brian says that warehouse was amazing. It's garage goals. It really was just a fun, cool place to watch you do stuff. What kind of square footage were we looking at?
It was 1,000 square feet. It wasn't
Wow,
that big. Yeah. I mean,
good.
you could park a car in there basically and have a little workbench, but, yeah, it was a really great spot. I remember a long time ago when I first started the channel, I think I had like 3, 400 subscribers. I just started really like building
Mhm.
out what I was trying to do. And Seth from Burn Peak got on a call with me. We had some mutual friends. We met a couple times, and he saw what I was doing. And I just asked, like, "Hey, could I just pick your brain just for half an hour or whatever? I just got some questions, and I've been thinking about some stuff." And that was one of the things that I said to him on that call, like, "Hey, I'm thinking about, like, in a year or 2 getting a warehouse just because I think it would be a really cool way to, like, progress the channel and really, like, help me
Mhm.
become consistent." And Seth was like, "Dude, do that right now. Like, just stop whatever you're doing and just get that space now. It
Oh,
is gonna
wow.
help you actually get started. It's gonna become a character in the thing. It's gonna be something. Give it a name." So we called it the shred spot. And, as a side note, Seth was on that call with me for 2 hours.
Wow.
And I took like 4 pages of notes. This guy that I'd met twice in my life, who's probably the biggest mountain bike YouTuber on the planet, gave me 2 hours of his time to help me out, which I just like. I mean, Seth is just an incredible human, and I just really appreciate anybody that would give their time like that to
Yeah.
just help out another person that they barely know. I mean, the
Did you make
advice
a
that he
video
gave me.
about that?
I did. I made, like, a short video about it just
Oh, okay, I remember
as, like, a
seeing
little thank you, because I just the advice that he gave me really helped me out a ton, not only the warehouse advice, but just helping me understand, like, what I could be doing with it, and I don't really know if I've truly fulfilled everything that he even suggested that I do, but just the motivation that I got to talking to him for that long, and the support that I got, and sort of the follow-ups from him too. I mean, he's been a constant supporter of the channel. We rode with him this past
Yeah,
summer. He Yeah, it's just been really cool. Like, that's probably the best thing about the mountain bike community, and specifically the content creators in mountain biking. Everybody is so down to help out everybody else.
isn't that
I've
crazy?
I've called, Joe Colorado Kid, who you just interviewed. I've been on the phone with him a lot this past year. Brendan Carberry, outside Brendan, like all these people have been really amazing sounding boards to just help me understand things and help me get to where I am. And I've tried my best to also turn around and help out other people too. But it's really cool how everybody's just a lot of people could definitely be like, "No, you can't know this,"
No,
and,
this is
doesn't
this what do
exist.
they call that? A gatekeeper?
Yeah, there's
No, I
0
don't wanna
in
share
yeah.
this secret.
It's amazing how open and honest and helpful people can be, and I've never run into a situation where there's been another creator that's, like, not been willing to lend a helping hand, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. We got a mountain bike coach on right now,
Very cool.
Amari, right here in Florida. Um, do you consider yourself a coach? And because somebody, I think it was Run Bike Mike says, do you offer coaching?
I I haven't done I haven't set anything up to do in-person coaching out here. I've been talking to the guys at Mountain Bike Mastery. This is like a new thing that's launching pretty soon where they're gonna do a digital version of it. Sort of like if you're familiar with like the Ryan Leach connection, he does kind of like a online coaching thing.
Okay.
This Mountain Bike Mastery app that's coming out pretty soon. I think I'm gonna have some courses on there.
Oh, wow.
I'm not totally sure where I stand on the whole coaching thing, because for me to go out and do it and to really lock in with 5 or 10 people at a time would take away from being able to make videos that could affect 40,000 people's riding. And I think there's definitely a level of it would probably be more beneficial for me than it would be for the riders, because like I did this past summer with my oldest son, when you work with people, like they say the best way to learn stuff is to teach it, right?
Yeah.
And so I would probably learn a lot more, and it would probably impact my teaching if I was doing more stuff in person with people. So I think
Yeah.
there's like a meaningful trade-off, but it's also like I'm spending so much time making content right now that I'm not even sure if I could carve out enough time to meaningfully impact anything in person. But it would be fun to do. I'd be super interested in it. I think I could do a good job with it, but I also just it's another thing to do. And right now,
You're
between
like,
all the content and then the industry podcast we do, and then family time, like I've got
oh,
young kids and stuff at home too. So I'm spread pretty thin at the moment.
yeah, calm down, folks. He's got my sister just jumped on late again. Oh, my mom's watching too. See, I told you.
That's
Yeah, I got them.
actually, when we had the warehouse, I used to do a live stream on Twitch, and then eventually moved it over to YouTube live streams where you'd ride in the warehouse, like answer questions and stuff for riders that were watching. And my mom used to wake up at 5 a.m. to turn it on just so I'd have an extra viewer. Because at that time there was like 15 people watching.
Ah,
And so shout out to the moms there that are like supporting.
family support.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you a question because you were talking, you dropping names and stuff, Seth, and all these. And I jokingly asked this to somebody else. Do you guys have the bigger content creators? Do you guys have like a secret handshake? Is it how do you reach out to some of these people if you're like fairly new? Like, I mean, Seth, you just called him. I mean, how do you even get a hold of him?
Seth is really good friends with Eric Porter, and Eric Porter
Okay.
and I go back like 2 decades.
Uh,
So I used to do a mountain bike video magazine way back in the day, and then that turned into doing a lot more mountain bike content. Actually, Freecaster, which was sort of the first live stream where you could watch the World Cup live stream, I did that before
uh,
Red Bull took it over. Basically, we traveled with Rob Warner, we did all that kind of stuff. We got
oh,
Rob's stories for days. So I had been in the mountain bike world for a very long time before I even started the YouTube channel, before I worked for Red Bull. And Porter and I used to travel around all over the world together. We've been to Spain, we've been to New Zealand, we've done
oh,
all
wow.
kinds of projects. I've been at events. I was traveling and doing media for a lot of the free ride events when guys like Semenuk and Sam Pilgrim were like 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
So I've been around the scene for a really, really long time. And so that sort of made it easy. The Seth one came through Porter directly. But
Oh,
honestly, like I was saying, there's not really a lot of gatekeeping. And if you have,
no.
if you have value to bring to someone, or if you're have a reason to reach out that's, meaningful, and most people respond to you, just out of
Yeah.
respect a lot of times, I think.
No, this community is ridiculous. I say it all the time. My wife loves watching this stuff or watching content because she just gets a kick out of this community. There's no egos, there's no competition. I mean, there's competition if you're competing, but like in this realm that we're in as a content creators, people are just this thing that's around here that says "Mountain, go get your bikes dirty."
Yeah.
That was another content creator just sent that to me.
That's so cool.
And my logo, he just sent it to me. It's just
Amazing. Yeah, it's
people
such a
out there that believe in what you're doing. And, I'm constantly promoting people. There's no, what am I keeping from?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't respond to all the comments because there's no way I possibly could, but I absolutely try to respond to every single DM that I get, just because, yeah, people took the time to reach out, and it takes, 3 seconds to write back a thank you or an answer to their question or whatever else.
Or a sure, I'll come on your show.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, how easy is it to reach out to somebody? I think a lot of times maybe people are intimidated because they oh, that person's a content creator. I see them on YouTube, whatever, but we're all just mountain bikers, and we all love the same stuff, and we all watch the same stuff, and we all care about the same stuff. It's
Yeah.
I don't
Just
know.
reach out. And when
Yeah.
I first started this, I was just like, oh, I can't. They're they're not going to want to come on. I've got 3 subscribers, and it was amazing. Like, people just started coming on. My
Yeah.
first person I reached out to was like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm
That's it.
like, it's amazing. We're all just having fun, folks.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Yarno out there in Finland wants to know, ever try Twitch streaming while riding? Did it once while
I
downhilling.
So we had the Twitch setup actually. We had
I don't even know.
I for a little bit I had this like chest mounted camera that it was like in the lower third of the frame, so you could see from the widescreen, you could see what I was doing, and then you could see like my handlebars as I was like riding. But of course, all this was indoors. It was like a closed,
Yeah.
setup and everything. I think my favorite live stream that we did, I painted all my boxes chroma key green,
Oh,
and then I made this I don't even know the right word for it, but basically for Halloween one year, I dressed up as Mario with like white gloves, red helmet. I got like some ridiculous mustache.
yeah.
It's on my YouTube channel. If you go into the
You're watching.
lives on my YouTube channel. But anyways, I made the green screen covered up, and I made the boxes look like Mario blocks. And then I had this like Mario outfit, and I did like a little demo or whatever while I was doing that. It was such a fun time. But
That's
that one is actually on the YouTube channel. So
that's.
yeah, that
Uh,
was
I had
pretty
your
entertaining.
son queued up. Wonder if I can go back and find that.
You'd have to go into the lives, but it should be pretty easy to find
Get
somewhere
that
in
out of
there.
here. Oh,
There it is. Yep.
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Holy
that was
cow, this is ridiculous. We got to pay the bills. He's got to make a buck. Let's just skip it so he doesn't get paid all that
yeah,
much.
so I did all like custom graphics and stuff like that. And
Oh, wow. Look at you.
yeah. And the really fun postscript to this is like I was saying, I'd wake up at 5 a.m. and ride. So this is me at 5 o'clock in the morning
What?
riding. But then after
No.
this live stream finished, I had to rush out of there and go take my kids to school, and I still had all my Mario gear on.
Oh, those poor kids. Oh,
No,
they're
it's pretty common in Portland. I feel like probably people didn't even flinch,
yeah. Isn't it Portland? You guys are weird or something like that.
We keep it
No,
very weird.
no, Florida's way weirder. Come on, man. You don't get that. So, do you prefer to ride your trials, or are you strictly mountain now?
I do both still, and we've got a really good trial scene here in Portland. So we'll
Mhm.
try to go out every couple weekends and get the crew together and ride. We had a really fun one actually a couple weeks ago. This guy came into town with one of those crazy high speed cameras like they used to film the
Yeah,
Red Bull films
right.
and stuff like that. And this camera shot at like 600 frames a second or something. So basically everything he points it at looks like the most epic thing ever. And I was like, well,
Wow.
let's do the trials bikes instead of just doing mountain bikes with it like you always see. Let's do a trials version. So we did this big downhill or downtown ride on our
Yeah.
trials bikes. I actually got a custom trials bike from Marin about a year ago, and so I've been riding that one a little bit more lately. But I don't know, it's like sort of whatever I can do. A lot of times I don't have a lot of time to go and ride on a weekend or whatever, but I can
Yeah.
get out on my trials bike for half an hour, 45 minutes and have a pretty good time because you can ride it on flat ground, you can ride it in parking lots, you can ride it on ledges, you can kind of take it
Yeah.
anywhere and do stuff with it. Whereas like the mountain bike, you've kind of got to go to a trail to ride it.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more accessible for some of those days where it's like, if I didn't have this, I probably wouldn't have ridden. So at least I got to ride today.
Holy cow. Yeah. I just getting out and putting the bike on the back and getting everything and getting to the trail, getting the bike off. I mean, it's an hour and a half right there. And
Yeah.
then you got to ride, and
Yeah.
then you got to do it. You got to clean the bike and
It's a lot.
trials. You just go.
Yeah, you just go, and I can just ride out my front door and, hit some curbs, hit some local there's, like, a school down the street from our house. I can, rip there for a little bit and just practice, little basic stuff. I grew up as a trials rider. I love riding trials. It's so fun, and it's, like, a lot of it's just sort of like problem solving on a bike, it's just like, here's a big obstacle. How are you gonna get up and over it? And you can apply all that stuff to your mountain biking. So it is sort of like you're double, you're practicing two things at the same time, basically. But it's just a fun feeling, like to be able to bunny hop over some giant thing or to be able to jump
Yeah.
across the gap or whatever. It's a really fun feeling. And I don't expect everybody to want to do that, which is why there is sort of the delineation between the mountain bike and the trials bike, but that's really fun if you can do it.
It's wild to watch. I was at the Bentonville Bike Fest, and we were watching the log hopping,
Oh
and
yeah.
just the control
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
so amazing. I remember watching that guy in California, and I ended up getting I wanted to I didn't know much about trials bikes, so I ended up getting a Haro Revo 9, had the pegs and everything.
Nice.
And I would do like just some street stuff, but I could never get the hopping up stuff. And I could bunny hop like crazy with that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But holy cow. What do you remember your first? Did you start off with a trials bike, or did you start off like I did with a BMX style bike and then work your way to a trials bike?
I got a GT Rebound, right, when I was, I think, 14 or so, and I started riding that and started riding mountain bikes with my friends, and then I was on a road trip actually across the country. My parents were both teachers, so in the summer, we'd always take trips to wherever to go,
Yeah.
and we'd always do, like, something educational, of course, but, whatever. So we were on our way out west, and we stopped at this KOA campground in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, of all places. My dad was tired. He pulled off the road, like, "Oh, we're gonna chill for the night." And so I pulled my bike out of the back of the RV, and I was riding around the campground, and this German dude came up to me, and he said, "Hey, can I see your bike? Can I ride it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And he gets on my bike, and he hops over a picnic table, and he starts hopping on the back wheel, and I was like, "What? On my bike?" And I did the full, like, Doctor Strange, like, "Teach me, please, just show me how to do that." And
Yeah.
so he showed me some of the basics, and then for the next 2 weeks that we were on our way back to Wisconsin, every single time the RV would stop at a campground or we'd, park somewhere for a rest stop or whatever, the bike would come out and I'd start working on hopping in place. I'd start working on trying to
Wow.
get on the back wheel. And so I started as a mountain biker, but almost immediately went out. And the other thing was when I was in high school, I was 5'2". So I was not athletically inclined whatsoever. And I didn't actually get to be, I'm like 5'11" now. I didn't get to be that tall until college. So
Wow.
I
I've
could
heard of that.
never I could never keep up with any of my friends because they were physically just light years ahead of me. But in trials, doesn't really matter. It's all technique. So I could actually learn a skill, get good at it, and it didn't
Yeah.
matter if I was, strong or 6 feet tall or whatever. It just doesn't matter at all. And so it just became this path where it kind of was like my way to stay connected to my friends that did ride mountain bikes, but it was also like my way to be good at something where I was never going to be a good cross country racer at the size that I was, or, you
Yeah.
know, so that was sort of like almost an immediate way. And then my bike started getting modified a little bit more and more. And then my parents kind of realized like, oh, okay, like he's going to keep trashing his bike if we don't get him a proper bike.
Ah,
And then it just like turned into a all out obsession. I mean, I was fully locked in going to trials comps. And at that time, well, it's still trials is so small. You can basically meet everybody and make all kinds of friends. And we
yeah.
traveled all over the world doing trials comps and like hanging out with other riders and stuff like that. And it just kind of like kept building and building. When I was in college, I got to do the Vans Warp Tour for 2 summers where we did bike trials demos on the Vans Warp Tour. So I get to like live on a tour bus for 2 summers.
Oh,
Um,
that's amazing.
so yeah, this whole thing just kind of like kept snowballing. That's I met like Jeff Lanowski and all these other guys during that era, which is now like we're all grown-ups, but
You're
yeah,
all
we
you
were
got kids in college. Oh, Teddy Parker got a question here. A bit of a tangent. Wondering what Aaron's opinion is on most of the industry abandoning small wheel bikes and Marin standing out as one of the last of an era.
Yeah, it's actually it's my Alpine Trail. No, yeah, my Alpine Trail is still a mullet bike right now. And I've still got the Alcatraz obviously as well. But yeah, I don't know. I'm really curious to see what's going to happen in general with the mountain bike industry this next year. Like, are we going to see any real progression? Are we going to see any real changes, or is everything kind of on hold? It's going to be really interesting. You've obviously seen all the news about some of the other brands that have been
Yeah,
shutting down and stuff like
yeah,
that. Are
GT
we
and
going to get any like actual progression when it comes to technology or anything?
do we
Um,
need any more?
probably not.
I mean,
Probably
honestly,
not.
my bike shifts on its
Yeah.
own. I just ask it to.
Yeah, I actually really prefer the smaller wheels. Like I prefer my mullet bike over my 29er for sure. So I'm gonna keep holding on to that. And the fact that you can actually change like the new bike that I got from them, you can actually change to have either 27.5 or 29 if you want. I'm just gonna leave it at 27.5 because I just like the way it corners. I like the way it rides.
Yeah,
So
I just find it interesting how like people ask, "Well, what do you think? Where's it going?" And I'm like, I'm seriously, I got electronic shifting now. I
yeah,
didn't know I needed that, and now that I have it, I don't want to look back. I mean, that thing shifts so smoothly. There's
yeah,
no delay. There's no. It's so much fun. But
yeah.
what else could you add? I mean, maybe a bell. What else do you need? I
I
mean, different
honestly,
geometry. I just
yeah, the bikes. I don't know, man. I've been having so much fun on the Marin. You know, like I've been working with them for a little bit now, and this year is like our first official year doing stuff together. But I think they just do
yeah,
such a good job on those bikes, and I've just been having a blast riding them, you know, and I feel like they have a really good sense of just what needs to be done to make a fun bike, and they're not getting over their skis on some like crazy technology thing. They're just making good bikes that are fun to ride, and that's
yeah,
been the most fun for me. Like I'm not somebody who's like overly technical, and I think a lot of the people that watch my videos probably can kind of appreciate that it's like the bike that I'm riding is a bike that they can get for a relatively decent price point. It's not a $12,000 bike with the most insane whatever thing. I mean,
yeah.
most of
Just
the stuff that
comfortable.
Marin makes is like super accessible for just about anybody that wants to get into the sport. And I think that's really important.
Amar would like to know, question for AA Ron, how often do you focus and practice on fundamentals?
I- this is the thing that I think makes the good riders, sorry, that separates the great riders from the good riders. And when you see someone who's making an obstacle or making something from every single thing that they hit on the trail, in the trailhead, on the street, whatever, versus the person that's just riding from point A to point B. When you
Yeah,
see those people that are veering out to like hit that corner or to go up and over that obstacle or whatever, that's the fundamentals that I think really separates people. And people kind of just forget about it and they're just so focused on the ride, they forget all the other things that you could be like building into the ride. And that
yeah,
stuff adds up like over time in a crazy amount. That's where I've seen the differentiating factor. It's not like how much you ride, it's like where you can squeeze in those little elements in between when you're riding, you know? And that's where
yeah,
I've been like trying to push like in the parking lot beforehand or in the parking lot afterwards, like just do these 5 things.
yeah.
I want to do a thing this year where I like talk about a lot of the games that you can play riding, you know, like have you ever played pickup where you're like riding along, you try to pick up smaller and smaller things off the ground?
No,
That'd be a good one to, like, get people fired up about. Obviously, there's, like, foot down where you get a bunch of people together and they kinda mash their bikes together and
yeah,
put your foot down, you're out, which obviously, like, if you're practicing any of the stuff I teach, you will basically be unstoppable at that game. Um, but like, there's a lot of different games that you can play that will actually enhance your skills, and that pickup one's a pretty fun one. There's another drill that Joe Kentner taught me where you get like a rubber chicken, you know, the one that makes the squeaky sound,
yeah,
and you use it to like, because a lot of times when you're practicing lifting your front and back wheel over stuff, you're using like a stick or something, and you don't
yeah.
really know, like maybe your wheel rolled over it. But if you have this rubber chicken, you're gonna hear it
You
if
can
you
hear it.
accidentally hit it. And so, like, I think there's a lot of like kind of fun stuff that you can do. I'm definitely not like the comedy Instagram guy by any means, but I do think there's some fun things that you can do on the bike that
Yeah,
will like get people to do stuff. I don't want to ever come off as like overly serious of like you must do this thing,
yeah,
but I do think that the
yeah.
stuff that I'm trying to share is like relatively easy for anybody to do. You can do it on flat ground, you can do it anywhere. It's pretty fun. It might not look like something that makes any sense, but you'd be surprised where this, two-wheel hop thing is gonna come in handy on your ride, you know?
Yeah, we're riding bikes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, literally, we're a bunch of old kids now.
It's supposed to
And
be
you
fun.
gotta have fun with it, you know,
Yeah.
the Amari who asked that question, I went out with him. Amari, I swear I'm doing something with the video. We went riding, he wanted to show me some things, but that guy, watching him ride, it's all over the place. I was joking with him, like, "Do you stop?" Like, I was doing some stupid stuff in front of the camera, and he's just behind me doing all these little things. I'm like, "Do you ever calm down?" He's like, "I'm on a bike. I gotta do something. I
Yeah.
gotta have fun with it. I gotta practice." He's lifting up the front, he's lifting up the back, he's track standing, he's doing it's just fun watching people like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes such a difference too, because that stuff just adds up over time too.
Yeah, it really probably no, it does. I mean, it's like muscle memory almost.
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely.
so oh well, where was I going? I lost my train. Kazozeki's in the house, folks. Welcome, man. Thanks for hopping in. Games are fun. Oh, yeah, this is what he was doing. Games are fun. At the end of the day, we're just kids on bikes. He was kicking things off the trail the entire time.
That's
If
awesome.
there, I don't know if you do that. There was a rock
Little front wheel.
and
Yeah.
just boom, and it would go flying. I'm like, what are you doing? You hit somebody. So let's get to the meat here. You're all fascinating and whatnot, but I want to get to what I really wanted to talk about, and I think this is what really got me. And I was just kidding about that, by the way. That was a joke. Um, you teach all these people how to ride, but there was one person in your life that didn't know how to mountain bike,
Yeah.
and you wanted to take him out and show him, folks. He showed
Yeah.
it. He taught his son.
I did finally. So my oldest son is 22 years old. I'm 44, so this was like a big year for both of us.
Wow.
Um, and he's actually in his senior year at NC State. And so as a dad, I was like, wait, this is my last summer with him before he has to take PTO to hang out with me, which is
Yeah.
kind of a crazy thing to think about. And we've sort of like talked about this road trip idea before. We did do a road trip a couple years back. We drove a car out so you'd have a car for college.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted to do this cross country road trip with them to teach them mountain biking because I thought, what a cool way to like hit a bunch of spots that are well known, see some of our friends, just get a cool father son experience, and I can teach him some stuff along the way.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it's got to be this summer or it's not going to happen because it takes about 2 weeks to do this proper, to
Yeah.
start in North Carolina and drive all the way back out here to Portland. So that's what we did. He agreed to it. Marin sent me a bike for him to ride over the summer. And then Jensen USA actually helped us out too. So they had different gear for him to unbox at each one of the stops along the way to like kind of upgrade his bike, upgrade his kit. And
That
then
was amazing.
we stopped at Industry 9, we stopped at Deity's headquarters and kind of like plussed up his bike a little bit more. So by the end of the trip, he was pretty dialed in terms of like his gear. Um, but I learned a lot. Like I was saying before about the coaching stuff, when you teach people, you end up learning the most. And I think what I really got a greater appreciation for is what it means to be a absolute beginner mountain biker. And we talk a lot about skills and about practice and about drills and things like that. But if I'm honest, you're probably not thinking about any of that stuff. You're not thinking about
Mm.
having a skill until, I don't know, like 30, 40 hours into owning a mountain bike. Like, it's not like you get your first ever mountain bike and you're like, well, I better figure out how to lift the front wheel. Like, no, you end up like riding up stuff or down stuff and just getting comfortable on the bike, and then you run into a problem. You're like, I need to solve this problem. How do I solve this problem? Oh, I got to learn how to lift my back wheel off the ground. So I got a better understanding of like, oh wait, it's not a given that people have good cardio. Pedaling uphill is not that fun if you've
Oh,
never done it before. And I made the mistake of going to where Burn Park is. Uh, I didn't realize because I've seen the trails there and there's
yeah.
some of them look pretty mellow. But to get to those mellow trails, you basically have to pedal straight up on all these switchbacks for like half an hour, which basically
Yeah, I've heard that.
just killed the vibe
You don't
immediately.
see that in the videos, by the way. My buddy just moved out there and he goes, it takes you like 30, 35 minutes to get up there.
Yeah, it's mellow and it's basically flat when you get to the top, but
Yeah.
you have to get to the top. So it's almost like, why? Um, yeah, unless you walked up to the top, which you wouldn't do, and it would be just as bad. So I learned a lot on the trip, and the first couple days were pretty rough because I wasn't I wasn't prepared for how ill equipped he was going to be. I didn't realize he was going to have a VO2 max of like, negative 20. I didn't realize some of the, going down a steep hill was going to be terrifying, even if it
Yeah.
was like no technical anything, just the fact that it's a hill. That was going to be a hurdle. So where I thought we were going to start and where we actually did start were different things. Now, we got to Canoga on the second day, and what actually helped was I got him an e-bike because that bike park is a lot of uphill climb to the
Mhm.
top of like pretty smooth downhills. So if he could bypass the climbing part, get a preview of what mountain bike fitness looks like,
Yeah.
then he could have a pretty good time. And the trails weren't overly technical that were going to like scare him too bad. That was actually a really good intro. And, e-bikes there's a lot of opinions about e-bikes out there, but honestly, for him as a beginner, that was the perfect thing to just get
Oh,
him
yeah.
over the initial hurdles to just experience the good stuff
Yeah,
to
like, "I
kind of,
gotta climb again, Dad.
yeah,
Can you just walk this?" The fun part, that's why I love the e-bike, and I've been to parks where I've had e-bikes. The going up is you just wanna have fun.
yeah, yeah,
Going up, some people I know love the climb, but the fun is the down, and you're right with even with I've been riding for 25 years, and I'm still horrible, but it's like you said, just going down hills. I ride here in Miami, in South Florida. There's not a lot of hills. There's a lot of little but wherever I go, Bentonville, California, wherever I go, Jackson Hole, going down it takes me a few
yeah,
minutes because I don't ever go any faster than what I pedal here.
yeah, yeah.
So for him, not ever did he ever have like that was his first mountain bike?
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, he lived out on the East Coast. His mom and I split up when he was super young, and
Oh, okay.
when anytime he'd be out with me, we'd be doing all the stuff he wanted to do, and I never wanted to like push it on him. I always figured if he showed interest in it, I'd be 1,000% like, here's the bike, here's the helmet, here's the stuff, and he
Yeah.
just never really seemed that interested. I mean, he seemed to care that I loved it, but he never really expressed like, oh, I'd love to do a mountain bike trip with you or whatever. And so I just kind of hung back. And then we started kind of talking about it. I'm like, I have this idea. I was thinking about this. And um, yeah, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'd be down to try it out. I think I could learn it." And
Yeah.
earlier in the year when we were over in Europe, we'd met a bunch of my mountain bike friends from over there. So I think he was like kind of getting a better feel for like the scene and the friends and stuff like that. And that's an important part of it too, like the community that comes with mountain biking. It's not just the activity, but it's like all the people that come
Oh, yeah.
with it that make it so cool that you want to continue to be a part of it even more.
So what
So
was like his oh, sorry.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I was gonna say, so what was like his like dad's a serious biker. And then you threw that out there. Was he receptive at first, or did he just be like, "Do we have to go mountain bike? Can't we just go?"
I think he was down. I think he was interested. I think he thought that it was gonna be easier too, because he'd only seen the stuff in the warehouse and we'd
Yeah.
never done a big, steep uphill pedal before. And so I think, he'd only seen the good parts of mountain biking and he hadn't really thought about some of that stuff. And to be fair, neither had I. I hadn't really thought about how hard it was gonna be for someone who has never pedaled uphill to be faced with like, welcome to this bike park where if you want to do a lap, you got to pedal to the top and earn your turns. Um, but then after we got him on that e-bike at Canoga and he got a couple laps in and started feeling more confident, that kind of opened things up. And I just had to kind of recalibrate how and what I was teaching him
Yeah.
and be, super patient and try to open it up. We got to Bentonville a couple days later. Actually, we were at another bike park. We went to Howler, and that was
Yeah.
also another incredible experience because we got shuttled to the top there.
You were the
And so
only
he's
ones on the trail.
yeah, yeah. Well, we showed up on a day that was closed, and we made a phone call, and they're like, "Yeah, yeah, no worries, we got you," because the trail builders were all there, and they just showed us this amazing time. Hayden Cavan is one of the builders there. He has a YouTube channel as well, and
Mhm.
he kept shuttling us to the top, and so we kept getting these like, really cool experiences. We rode with Seth at this one spot, and Tegan was like, "I think I've seen that guy on the internet." I'm like, "You've definitely seen that guy on the internet." But, we just kept opening these, like, cool experiences. We got to Bentonville, and Annika Beerten came to ride with us, and my son speaks Dutch. She's super into linguistics,
Oh,
and
wow.
she's obviously, um, from the Netherlands, so then they got to have, like, a discussion in Dutch. So we kept having these, like, really cool moments happen off the bike throughout this trip as well that kinda balanced out the stoke. But what I think if I number 1, Bentonville is actually a really incredible place to take a beginner. I think the
Yeah.
repetition that he was able to get there was a huge, huge boost to the entire trip because he could just like session something and get good at it. They've got really good beginner stuff. And,
Yeah.
Bentonville is a big place with like a lot going on there and a lot of people
Oh,
talking about it. But like, I'm actually kind of tempted to take my younger kids there just to like, here's where you can get good really fast. And if I'm honest, if my only goal was to skill him up to, expert level or, intermediate level in the fastest amount of time, I probably would have
yeah.
skipped the entire road trip and been like, we're going to go spend 2 weeks in Bentonville and we're just going to session this until you're good at bikes, basically.
It's a
Um,
fun place, man.
yeah.
Holy cow. I'm wearing a slaughter pen hat right now.
Oh,
That
nice.
was that, and you're right. If I lived there, because I don't, whatever. I'm
Yeah.
horrible. I just love mountain biking. Anyhow, I had so much fun there. And the fact that the trails are not crazy long and that you can wheel back and go back up to like the castle.
Yeah. Oh, incredible.
You
Incredible.
just come back up, you go down another trail, go back up, come down another trail. That place is great. Then now, did you find that he progressed mostly in Bentonville?
Yeah, that was a big, big step forward for him. We spent a lot of time working on drops there, which I think was like just a good bike handling skill for him to learn
Yeah.
because you can go from, curb height to pretty much any height at that point. And so I think that was kind of like a big unlock for him. And he started feeling like a win. When you progress riding technical, you don't really feel like, oh, I'm on this level now. But when you progress learning something like a drop, you can see I went from 6 inches to 2 feet, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so I think that helped his confidence a lot on the bike. Again, like you can't develop the cardio skills for pedaling uphill over 2 weeks. So that was going to be an issue the entire time. But
Yeah.
thankfully, we had Durango after that, which was a bit of a slog to get to the top of that one. But then after that, we were in Park City where there was chairlift. We went to Idaho to Tamarack where there was a chairlift, and then we went to Bachelor in Oregon where there's a chairlift. So we kind of made it
So
through there. Yeah, we had big plans for Moab, but I think he kind of hit the wall when we were there, just tired
yeah,
from
you
being
were
on the
like, Dad's
road.
gonna go play.
Yeah, yeah, I was like, I'm not skipping this. So, that was also sort of for me kind of therapeutic because, when you're traveling with kids and you're trying to like make this incredible experience for them, but then also document it for your YouTube channel and making
Yeah.
sure that the sponsors are stoked on, that you're getting the integrations right. I was juggling a lot, not to mention driving like, you know, I don't even know how many thousand miles it
That's
was
the
start to
man.
finish.
Holy cow. Yeah.
There's a lot going on. I needed that time at Moab to kind of reset my own brain a little bit, which was fantastic. Like I had never actually ridden Slick Rock before, so that was a fun kind of
Oh,
solo
wow.
mission to do. That place is really cool, and honestly, it would probably be really fun on e-bikes because it's steeper than I thought it was going to be. I'm glad I didn't take him out there because it's definitely not beginner territory at all. There's some pretty big climbs, but it was an
Now,
amazing spot.
is he now into mountain biking?
I think he got enough skill
Yeah.
to go with me again, and he got enough of a hook into like, "Oh, I know that when I ride at a jump, if I do this, I'm gonna clear it, and I know that if I see a drop that size, I can hit it with speed and land this." And, like, he got enough where he's competent as a mountain biker now, and if I had the right trail selection, I think that's really what it comes down to. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna drag him out to any trail, but if I had a good trail that was nearby and I had the right bike for it for him, he would absolutely go and he'd have a great time. But it's gotta be it's gotta be right. So I'm in this like kind of tenuous place right now because if I take him on the wrong trail with the wrong bike at the wrong time, then it's like I'm never doing this again. If I
Yeah.
take him on the
Yeah.
right trail with the right bike, he'd be like, "Oh, maybe I should go another time with you." And so I think it's just about stacking like the perfect setup after each one.
Yeah.
So when the road trip was over, we rode one other time and we took him to this place in Portland called Gateway Green. It's actually like a downtown bike park. It's right by the airport in
Oh,
Portland.
wow.
And they have a giant Vela Solutions pump track. And so we did this like we made a pump track video together. And I made the whole thing be about like beating your time and like pumping
Mhm.
and working harder to go faster and how to like be more efficient with your pumps and stuff like that. And so we made it fun in a different way. And I think that's really ultimately what it comes down to if you're trying to
Oh,
get people excited about riding, especially if it's your kids, like making sure that the conditions are right.
make it fun. Wow. Wow. I just really loved this series. And you know, you can look back on this time, and he can look back on it because it's out there in the ether now. He can go do it and watch it again. Because I honestly I thought about this because and I've commented on some of your videos with that. Like I don't have my father anymore, and I would give up all my worldly possessions to have one more day with the guy.
Yeah.
And you've had this incredible moment. These 2 weeks with your son. And I know it's not with some stranger. It's your son. You got nothing but love for him, but it's like this little time capsule on this little YouTube thing.
Yeah. That's the most special thing about making this stuff, right? Like I can always look back. He can always look back at these incredible memories that we have together.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think about that. I think about that a lot. I lost my dad like 10 or 11 years ago now. And yeah, I think about that a lot. My dad used to drive me to trials contests and stuff like that. And I think he'd probably get a real kick out of where it all ended up.
Where it all
Or
ended
where it all is right now, I guess. But yeah, it's cool. And the other benefit is that, we've got 2 younger kids here at the house who've now been inspired by that. And so we're taking them out and riding, and I'm taking the lessons that I learned from teaching Tegan how to ride
Yeah.
and trying to apply it to them, of like not pushing them too hard and giving them like little wins along the way. So like right now we're working on riding super slow on flat ground and seeing which one could ride slower than the other. And then there's a tree that's kind of off the trail, and I try to get them to ride in like tighter circles around the tree and see who can go both directions and stuff like that, like just to help them build some confidence on the bike.
Yeah.
And they're expressing interest in it. And so I'm like, all right, cool. Like, here's my chance to, and now, like, when Tegan was growing up, NICA wasn't a thing, but now, like, oh man, like my daughter could be NICA national champion. Like, here we go. She could be the next Kate Courtney. Like I can help her get there. I've got all the resources, including Kate's phone number to, whatever. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I think I'm kind of like personally excited, but again, and this is just like a parenting thing, but like, don't get too far over your skis on this stuff, because next week they could be like, what, mountain bikes? I don't know, and so I'm trying to catch myself from getting like too excited about it. Just trying to like play it cool, just keep focused on like the next step forward and keep making it fun, and don't make it be about you, all
Yeah,
that
Dad, I don't want to be in one of your videos again. Leave me alone, man. I got Fortnite. It's good that you're getting them out on a bike, though. I mean, so many kids are stuck on this thing these days, and that you're like, let's go play a game on the bike. Make it a game. Make it fun.
We're trying.
That's amazing. Now, your son, does he think when you're doing this with him on the road trip, he's like, oh, come on, man, with the GoPro? Or did he know ahead of time that this was something that, in order to do this, I needed to make this content in order to get the bike, to get the stuff. And plus it's that little time capsule.
Yeah, he got it. He understood the assignment, because there were definitely a couple points where I was filming and he was not happy. That not that I was filming, but he was like upset at the trail. Like, why is it, I'm not gonna ride down that, and I'm filming and I'm like, man, I'm sorry, but I'm filming this because it's actually part of the story. I have to tell this story.
Yeah.
We'd had conversations beforehand. He knew the deal, and we'd been to the YouTube office together a couple months prior, and he's been watching me. He's been seeing the work ethic that's gone into the channel over the last 4 or 5 years, and he understands kind of what I've had to do to get to this point. And I think it was like a cool way for him to play a role in it after having seen where it's gone, and then now he's featured in it. And it's cool to be like, hey, I posted an Instagram reel with you and it got 100,000 views. Like, you want me to tag you? Or, whatever. But I think he gets a kick out of that,
Yeah, he's a celebrity now.
Yeah.
Has he gotten anything like that? Is he on the Instagrams or anything like that?
I don't think he's gotten any. He's had a couple people follow him where he's like, there's a guy with a blue check mark that just asked to follow me because he's got like a private account or whatever. And and so I was like, yeah, no, that's okay. I know that guy.
Hold on here. Amari again. Thank you for this interview. I've learned so much. What advice would you give someone looking to get started creating content as a skills coach?
Ooh, this is a good one.
It's a good one, Mari. Thank you. I'm not good at this stuff.
I mean, I think The best advice I can give is that it really kind of comes down to how you package the skill itself in the kind of title, thumbnail, the image that people see, right? Like we can tell people how to ride, what to do, what they need to do to get from point A to point B. But the most frustrating thing as as a skills coach is that we know that like this one thing can be so impactful for someone if they would take the time to learn it, which is what I've been saying. Like, I've been screaming into the void that if you just learn trials fundamentals, your riding would be great,
Yeah.
to make a huge impact. But everybody wants to learn the bunny hopping manual instead. And like, what can I do about that? And I think that what can be frustrating as a skills coach is when you're teaching what you know is right, but like you're not packaging it the right way so that it's not getting the views that you think it should. So, like, you have to sort of be willing to disconnect the viewership with the quality of the stuff until you can figure out how to best package it in a way that meets what someone is looking for. Because someone's not necessarily looking for a specific thing that you're trying to teach. They're trying to look for an outcome. And so I think one of the videos I posted, one of the things that I'm like really passionate about is balance points. So front wheel, back wheel balance points. And we know that that's like a really important thing for helping people ride up and over things, ride down steep things, like just manipulating their bike in a major way. But this idea of rocking on a bike doesn't like no one's searching that on Google, right?
Yeah.
And so I had to get the packaging to a point where I was kind of sharing the outcome of like this one thing is going to unlock your potential on a mountain bike. And when you figure out how to sort of sell the outcome to the riders that you're trying to teach and package it in the right way, that's when people are going to come in and really lock into what you're teaching and how you're teaching. It's not enough just to say, like, here's how to do this skill. That makes sense.
Yeah, man, he's dropping some more gems, brother. That's
Also, I would just say that this whole thing takes a long, long time, even if the quality is really high, because what you think is high quality, because you're working super hard and like the thought
mhm.
process is going into it and you're putting all this time into it, may not be the quality that you end up at. If I look back at my original videos, I absolutely cringe. They're terrible. And so
We all
it's
do.
it's really just a matter of like just start the process. You're going to get better at filming stuff, you're going to get better at formatting stuff, packaging stuff, even just the lessons that you're trying to share, you're going to get better at it. And so it's better just to start, like we were talking about before, about like making pancakes and how the first pancake is kind of terrible, but then they get better as you go on. You got to make the first pancake and
Yeah.
it probably will be burnt and gross, but like you got to get that out of the way and just like have the first 10 skills that you want to teach kind of figured out and just focus on making those videos and making them as good as you can be and trying to make each video just like a little bit better. And by the time you get to the 10th video, you're going to have learned a lot of lessons by kind of looking back at how it went and how people responded to it. And you're going to start building that momentum. But all this stuff takes a long time. Like there's a quote that goes something like, people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but underestimate what they can do in 5. And I'm about close to the 5-year mark of YouTube right now. And yeah, like it looks great. There's the
Yeah.
plaque right there on the wall. But guess what? At the end of year 1, like I don't even think I was breaking 1,000 subscribers. And I was making videos every week. And I was putting tons of effort into it. And I had a warehouse and everything. So yeah.
Oh, man, that's just content creating 101 right there.
Yeah.
Is just do it. Like
Yeah.
I didn't have this fancy backdrop. I didn't even have a nice, I still don't even have the greatest stuff. And look at I just made this backdrop maybe a year ago.
Yeah.
But like you'll get used to it. And Amari, again, we did a piece together. I have yet to edit it because it's one of those, I don't know where to go with it
Mm.
because I didn't shoot it properly and I didn't have an outline of what we were going to do ahead of time. So I'm trying to piece it together and I had to reshoot some stuff. But yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it, man. It's,
I've got
I'm not even 1,000 subscribers after 3 years. I just love doing this because I like talking to people like you because you're good, man.
Thanks.
Hey,
I have this thing. This is called the 5-year journal, and I
what?
keep this for my channel. And I don't know, like it's so basically the way that it works is you have like a day in here. Let me see if I can find an empty one here. So like you have a day in here, like there's June 5th, right? And then there's like 5 different areas, one
Mhm.
for each year, right? Like I was saying how like it takes 5 years or you underestimate what you can accomplish in 5 years. This journal right here, you can get these on Amazon or whatever, but this journal is really good to just hold yourself accountable and to kind of track your progress. Cause a lot of times, like in the stuff that we're doing, especially with content creation, it doesn't feel like that much, but when you scroll back a year and or 2 years, it's crazy to see how far you've come if you've been consistent. And
You're talking about like grabbing that, and then taking the actual book and looking back and going,
yeah, oh yeah,
oh,
yeah.
that's pretty good. I like that one.
I mean, they're it's just like a good thing. Like every night before I go to bed, I write, like the things I'm tracking, right? Like, okay, I'm tracking subscribers, I'm tracking the monetization, and I'm tracking my Instagram, right? And then I talk about what I did that day to, what I'm working on or what outcome I had, like, oh, today was day 1 of this video. It did really well. I got a couple thousand views, or this video is not performing. It's this. And then I can scroll back like 3 years and say like, oh, I had a 1 of 10 day. This video smashed. It got 200 views, where
Yeah,
now it's like that's in the first hour or whatever, it changes over time, but it's like a frog in boiling water. You kind of adjust to all this stuff and you don't get as excited about it because it's just like expected, right? And so having that 5-year journal is really helpful for just being able to have perspective and appreciate what you've been able to do.
that's amazing. First off, a frog in boiling water. That just the image that came up. Um, it's cracking me up. But it's also with this content creating, especially like on Instagram or any of these shorts or whatever. I've done a hit. I've done really well on one, and then the rest only gets so much. It's the consistency. Be consistent with it because
Mhm.
I am not consistent. I don't know why the one hit really well, but I've done some that I was like, oh man, this is going to be awesome. I've got one that I'm going to be doing this week that I think is going to be incredible. Watch me get like 400 views.
I
It's
mean,
it's
it's all
always just
just
ones that you take the most
yeah.
effort to do and you get the
Yep.
least output.
1,000%. But I
Oh,
think it does, like, it ramps up over time too, right? You get better as well. Like, you figure out better ways to shoot stuff, better ways to talk on camera, better ways to frame stuff up. You think about the way that you're hooking people in with the first line of the thing, and you just get
yeah,
better and better over time, and then, you've been showing up consistently, and I think that stuff matters to people more than anything. If you're consistently, you know,
yeah.
there.
It's sad though because I'm a professional videographer. That's what
Yeah.
I do for a living, and it's still like, what am I doing wrong? I do this for a living.
I think
Uh,
editing for YouTube and specifically Instagram
oh,
too is like it's its own skill. We did this video a couple weeks ago where I went to the San Francisco Peninsula and we rode a bunch of trails, and we kind of made a video about not just the trails but like everything else to do in that area too. We went to
yeah,
like
I
the
love
most
those
famous
videos.
Taco Bell in the world, and we went to
Yeah.
like all these different riding places, but all these different restaurants and coffee spots that were owned by mountain bikers, and just try to be like, if you were flying into San Francisco, this is the stuff you should absolutely do. And I want to do more videos like that. But I worked with an editor for the first time, and it was so interesting because he's not a YouTube editor. He
Yeah.
does like edits for Nike and for, other brands and stuff
Oh,
for
yeah.
their commercials. And he's edited TV shows and things like that. And so it has a little bit of a TV show feel, which is fine because that's kind of where I was headed with it. But it's interesting to like talk to somebody who's a professional editor who is not used to editing for YouTube. And so I'm telling him like, "Hey, make sure that it ends abruptly because you don't want, it messes with your average retention rate if you have a really slow ending, for example. Make sure that the intro is really strong because if people decide in the first 3 seconds if they're going to stay, so make sure that there's, something there that's worth it." And it's just a different style of production for all these different
Oh,
platforms, and
yeah, man.
you
I
can go
edit
insane trying to figure it out.
See, that's my problem. I shoot and edit for news, and that is, it's very like it's strict and it has a way, and you've got 10 other people saying, no, you got to change this shot. YouTube, it is its own beast. And I love all these people that don't come from the professional side, is that y'all are rule breakers. I was taught you have to do A, B, and C. You wide, medium, tight. You do the
Yeah.
YouTubers are rule breakers, and I love it. I love watching you guys do what you do.
I think
I'm picking up on it.
Everything I do, whether it's, YouTube, whether it's the podcast that I do, the industry one, Instagram, the Substack, newsletter that I send out, everything that I do is just test and learn, right? Like I'm just start something, try to figure out how to get 1% better at it, and then just keep repeating that over time, which is basically like mountain bike skills, right? Like I always say, like practice makes progress. It's the same thing. I'm just doing that every single place that I can possibly apply it, where maybe my biggest fault is that I don't know when to like recognize that no matter how consistent I am with something, it's not going to break through a certain point, right? Like I just keep being consistent with everything and I keep adding more and more stuff to it. But yeah, it's just like if I can keep getting 1% better, maybe this is going to hit. Maybe this is going to work. Maybe this is going to work. I'll just keep adding 1% and 1%, 1%.
So inspiring. Lord, man. One last question from Teddy. Track stand contest. Are you putting money on Kendall Weed or Lenoski?
Lenoski all day. I grew up basically riding with Lenoski. We both rode for Schwinn at the same time. He was actually one of my earliest mentors on a bike. And just the fact that he's probably got like 4 or 5 inches on Kendall Weed. So if they go from track stand to a game of foot down, there's no way Jeff stands a chance.
Yeah. I got to tell you, I met him. He was with Brian on a bike here. They were all staying out in Bentonville at the same house with a bunch of other creators. So the guy the guy who owns Tasco and Biker B1, Robert, and all them. And Lenoski's a big dude.
He's a big guy. Yeah.
Brian, is he like 6'4"? He's a big kid. Oh, you got to check if you like content creating, folks, and breaking rules. Go over to Evans, Minnesota MTB, and check his video. It's hard to explain. It's just artwork.
That's cool.
It's just a really incredible. Go check him out afterwards. I highly recommend his content. It's weird. It's like you sit back and like, is this mountain biking or is this art?
I love that. I'm into it.
So beautiful.
There are no rules to any of this stuff. And I think that's why there are seemingly rule breakers, but there's just no rules to any of it. You can just make stuff. And the only time there's rules is if you have like a desired outcome that you're trying to go after. But like if you're making art, then there shouldn't be rules, right? And I think that's the most important thing. I'm excited to check out this channel.
Yeah, and he's got a new channel out there too called Past Future. I don't know where he's going with that one. It's probably maybe more videography stuff, but he's just really talented. All these kids over here make great stuff. Back to your kid real quick though. Oh God, I just lost it. I had a long day at work, man. You remember those days when you thank God I didn't do it on the day. I normally do it on Wednesday. Thank God you did it today, because I usually do it on Wednesday, the same day I talk to my therapist for 45 minutes. Then I come back and I do this. And it's like, I'm drained.
Oh, I can imagine.
Brain is so. This is way off. And this is way back. This probably should have been the first question, but I wanted to ask you, where did Super Rider come from?
Oh, this is actually kind of a fun story. So when I was a lot younger riding trials, there was a show in Japan. So the world finals for the BIU trials, which was like the big thing at the time. There was like UCI and BIU. I'm not going to get into it. But anyways, the world finals was in Itadori, Japan. And when everyone would fly into Japan, they would have this feature on a show. And it was sort of like the the show Wipeout, where they have like Takeshi's Castle or whatever it's called, right? So a segment within one of those shows, they would have this basically like Ninja Warrior on bikes themed course. So like one year it was like riding through a like skyscrapers and stuff where you're jumping from building to building and building. And they bring in all these world champions to compete against each other on like the most insane possible course for
Oh, wow.
trials riders. And the name of the segment of the show was Super Rider. And they actually brought it over to the UK for 3 or 4 episodes as well. And it was just such a sick thing. And I always wanted to be invited to be on the show. That was like my goal as a rider, of like to
Oh,
be
wow.
invited to be on Super Rider. Like Martin Ashton was on it. Hans Ray was on it. Like all of the greats have been on Super Rider. And so the intention behind the channel being called Super Rider was this idea of like, could I bring it back? Like YouTube seems like the perfect place to bring back this format, which is why I started with the warehouse, because I was like, maybe I could create it here.
Yeah.
And I actually did a deal with Red Bull, because when the UCI pulled out of or pulled the deal away from Red Bull and went to Time Warner or whatever it is,
Uh,
Red Bull had a bunch of money that they had dedicated to the UCI that they were like, well, now what? And so that's where the expansion of like Red Bull Hardline, they have like the Tasmania one, and they have, a couple other events that have kind of popped up. That's where like some of the money got funneled into that, and it got funneled into a couple other places. And the
huh.
Super Rider concept was actually one of the things that was funded to like a pretty substantial amount. Like that was going to be one of their big plays.
Oh, wow.
And so I had done a deal. I worked there, so I knew all those guys already. And I was like, oh my God, this is actually going to happen.
You're
um,
like, oh,
yeah. And then, one thing kind of led to another. The money was like locked in, loaded. We had production partner. We were like finalizing everything. It was going to be called Unrideable. It was going to be on Red Bull TV. Like we had everything set. I've still got all like the
wow.
pitch decks and all the designs and stuff like that. And then they had like a big pullback on the budget where a bunch of projects got cut in like Q4.
Oh,
And so
that
basically
was,
like, I was so close to making it actually happen. And I just thought like, well, okay, lesson learned, wasn't the right time. It's still out there. I could still do it. Red Bull could still do it.
you can
But
still
like,
do it.
yeah. But at that time, when I did the deal with them, I had 5,000 subscribers on my channel. There was no way they were gonna like produce it and put it on my channel. But now I could maybe figure out a way to do it on my own channel and like sort of own it like Oprah,
Yeah, no,
Um,
that's, I say I lived in the TV world out in LA for a minute, and it's amazing how many things come to be or don't come to be.
yeah,
And I find it interesting with all the formats now to watch YouTube, uh, Hulu, HBO, or just wherever. There's so much content. I'm surprised more doesn't get made. But I remember being out there and auditioning for shows, and it was funny. It was just like it was all. I don't think 90% of those shows ever came to be.
yeah.
And I'm like, it's just the money, or somebody didn't think the numbers were right. But it's gonna be you.
I mean, it's still a sound concept, right? Like Ninja
Sure.
Warrior on bikes, that could be amazing. And I think
Yeah.
there's a way that it doesn't necessarily even have to be all trials. It could be a mountain bike version of it. There's a lot of different ways we could take it at some point. So that's sort of like still floating out in the ether, trying to figure out like the right path to get there. But yeah, that's basically where the name came from. I'm not letting go, like I'm not gonna change it to anything else. I'm just gonna hold on to it, and hopefully we can, eventually make this thing happen. But in the meantime, like I'm gonna continue doing all the things that I'm doing to teach as much as I possibly can to try to help everybody out, and
Yeah.
all of that stuff will, when we can do a show like that, people will understand, oh wait, I've learned a lot of the basics of this. Like I could probably be on this show. That was always like the idea of like, wouldn't it be cool if season 5 of this show had somebody who saw season 1 and then went to the Super Rider channel and learned all the skills and then
Yeah.
competed in season 5?
He's got it in his head already.
It's there.
Forget about it. Dude, and now was the Super Rider, was it the same logo?
No, I made that. This is
Oh, okay.
a little custom one. Yeah. Yeah.
Love the skills Super Rider teaches. Marty, he teaches us all. Well, me, I'm past teaching, I think. Uh, Now, I don't want to take too much more of your time because I know you've got family. You're probably hungry because you've been riding all day. But I do a little thing at the end, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
10 rapid fire questions.
I'm in.
Is this cool? I know you got a family.
Oh, all good.
How young are the kids? The little ones again?
8 and 10.
Wow, you got a big.
Yeah, we got a big gap.
Big gap. Yeah, it's like my brother though. My brother was a mistake. No, he wasn't a mistake, but he's 10 years difference from me. Okay, so here we go, folks. Rapid fire questions.
Now I'm nervous.
Super Rider Aaron. It's if you could be any cartoon character.
Wow.
Yeah. They actually stump people. It's funny.
Yeah, any cartoon character. Man, I don't know.
You're a young kid. You probably, and you got kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now there's all kinds of stuff to keep up with, right? Like I'm just trying to. I guess I'd be the dad from Bluey, actually.
What's Bluey?
Bluey? Oh man, it's like these two Australian. Well, it's like this family of Australian dogs, and the parents are like insanely good parents to these like little dogs, and it's supposed to be like a show for kids. You know, they get excited about Bluey, who's like the young dog, but the mom and dad are just like the most patient parents of all time, and I take inspiration from that. So if I could be any cartoon character, it's the super patient dad.
Oh, that's funny. We've got 2 dogs. I don't have any kids. That's why probably I'm so far behind on the cartoon characters.
Yeah.
Favorite post-ride drink?
Oh gosh, actually, so I have this stuff called Seek, SEEQ. It's like a protein shake that tastes like Kool-Aid. My biggest problem with protein shakes is they all taste like chalk. They're awful.
Yeah.
Like, actually the new Momentous chocolate one's pretty good, but Seek actually tastes like Kool-Aid. It's the same thing. It's like protein, whey, whatever, whey isolate, but it doesn't taste like chalk. It's actually like there's like a lemonade, there's a blue raspberry, there's a watermelon. So it's basically like all the Kool-Aid flavors that you grew up with, but it has like 25 grams of protein in it.
I was going for an IPA but you're an athlete, you're clean living.
Actually, yeah, this year I decided I've never really, like have a beer every now and then, but I decided this year, like I'm going to completely go off the sauce just for the year and see how I feel. I don't know. Like I feel like it's one of the most obvious, like, I don't know, hacks or whatever to like make you more productive or whatever. Right. Like
totally.
But it seems so obvious, but I know it's a lot easier said than done, but I've done it both times when my wife was pregnant. I just like didn't drink the whole time and I actually felt way better. And I feel like I just want to see what the compound result is at like 12 months. Like, do I feel even better than I've ever felt before? Or do I feel about the same as I did in month 2? I don't know.
Wow.
But I feel like it's easier now. Like there's all these NA beers that are out there. There's like, all the Best Day Brewing or Athletic Brewing, whatever. Like it's still easy to like get the flavor and have a beer with your friends and just, be able to drive home or whatever.
That Athletic one's pretty good. They got a good IPA one.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Ooh,
you got this.
No, there's a Beatles song, Get By With a Little Help from My Friends is my like intro karaoke song. And then if I'm really feeling it, which again, probably in this year going completely sober, I don't think I could do it. But I used to do Aloe Black, I Need a Dollar. That one's a hard one, but after
I don't know if I know that song.
It's very soulful. You got to really belt it out.
Sing it to me.
There's no chance.
No, only if you had a couple of those drinks. What would be your walkout song if you were a wrestler?
That's a good one. That is a good one. Kickback. It's the theme song from the Chainsaw Man anime film. It's amazing. Yeah, it's definitely, it's like a rowdy Japanese, there's chainsaw sounds in it and stuff. It's awesome.
Okay.
It would be it'd be a good walkout one. It's like the intro to like a really epic anime.
Okay, I'm trying to think what I would use. I didn't think when I was got something from Ministry, something hard.
Yeah, that'd be good. I grew up on Ministry, Tool, all that stuff too. That'd be good.
Oh, good man.
Yeah.
Good man. I didn't know if you were into the hard stuff. Are you still into the hard stuff?
A little bit, like a lot of the stuff now, because I usually lift a couple times a week, so like that's pretty much all I'm listening to, and I'm going back to like the '90s new metal stuff, like that's pretty much all I'm listening to. My
Limp
Spotify
Bizkit,
was, yeah, like
Corn.
my entire Spotify was like that from working out 3 times a week, and then my daughter's Taylor Swift on my thing, so it was like just all over the place.
Oh, that's funny.
I've been talking to my son about this a lot because the theme song for Mission Impossible, like 4 or 5 Mission Impossibles ago, was actually written by Limp Bizkit.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I've been talking to him like, you realize like there was a meeting where there was somebody like having a serious conversation, being like, who needs to write the theme song for Mission Impossible for this year's film? Limp Bizkit. Like that conversation actually happened.
No, that was James Bond.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's a James Bond film.
Limp Bizkit?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now I got to pull it up.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm pretty sure it was Mission Impossible.
Hold on, let's just go to there.
Either way, the fact that they had that happen is still just blows my mind. Regardless of what film it was.
What did I say it was?
You said James Bond, and I said Mission Impossible.
James Bond. Take a look around. Oh, okay.
Only because I listened to it yesterday.
Tail between my legs. He got me. God, I thought, who was it then? Okay, I'm gonna have to look this up later.
Jack White did a 007.
Oh man, yeah, it was Mission Impossible. Down. West Portland. Okay, I can hear it now. Okay, back to this thing. What world record do you think you have a chance at?
I think track stand world record. I feel like I could do that one.
Okay.
I feel like if you could deal with just extreme boredom, I think the record is like 12 hours or something.
Oh my God, that is boring. Why? Why would you want that hanging on your wall?
Yeah. Also, how would you deal with, what if you had to go to the bathroom? Like, you just
let it go, man.
Just run some Depends, or like, how do you do that?
Just let it go, brother.
Just let it go.
Just like all those people standing out there in New York City during Times Square at New Year's Eve.
Did you see? I saw someone this year. I was watching the New York coverage, and someone was wearing, because it's like, was it Planet Fitness does the hats that people wear? Somebody had a Planet Fitness hat from 2017, and they put it on. And so when I was watching it, I was like, wait, are we watching the wrong one? And I was like totally like glitching. And I realized like, oh man, somebody is in Times Square completely trolling like the world. This is amazing.
Oh, that's funny. Oh yeah, someone's on Instagram right now probably making some flat earth post about how there's a glitch in the Matrix and there's a time traveler, but they wear diapers. Those people wear diapers because you can't move. You can't move from
you're not going anywhere.
You just
turn hard pass. But hey, that's the only way you're going to break the track stand world record, I guess. So
I guess just let it go. Do you have any secret talents other than your biking talents?
Gosh, I don't think I do.
Like
actually,
double jointed. You can bend your thumb all the way back or something. You can curl your tongue.
I'm a decent artist, I guess.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can draw. That's about it. I'm not that great, but I can.
Okay.
That's maybe it. I don't know.
We'll take it. We'll take it. These are rapid fire. If you could teleport to anywhere, where would you go?
Gosh.
A special place to ride, a favorite
New
place
Zealand, Queenstown, New Zealand, right now.
There you go, Marty.
There. Yeah, it's warm there. Queenstown's amazing. I've been there a handful of times. I'm dying to go back. But also, it's like a 13-hour flight from here. So if I could teleport there, that would be sick.
Have you ever ridden Rotorua?
No, I've only been to Wellington and Christchurch, and we rode some heli drop while we were over there too. Our buddy Caleb, who used to run Spoke Magazine over there, now he works for Kona, but back in the day we used to go there every winter and try to do like filming stuff over there. This is pre-YouTube, but
Spoke Magazine. You remember a magazine called Bike?
Yeah.
It was just Bike.
Mm-hmm.
I used to love that. That was always on the back of my toilet.
Yeah, solid.
Where'd it go?
It's gone. Outside had it, and then I think it just
I love
Can't
that
shut
bike. I
down.
just love reading the stories people have. I guess YouTube kind of got rid of all of that stuff. Cake or pie?
Pie. Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that's my hidden talent. I make a pretty decent banana cream pie.
Shut the front door.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
you go. He bakes, folks. Well, you don't have to bake a banana cream
No, well, no.
unless no.
Just the crust. Yeah, the crust is like almonds and oats and stuff like that. You gotta bake that to, like, harden it up.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Man, now, first you had me with pancakes. Now I want pie. The
What's funny
banana
is
cream's my favorite.
oh, it's such a good I'll send you the recipe, I got you. I was actually, like, a long time ago, was vegan for, like, 6 years, and so I sort of assumed the cooking duties because I didn't wanna put anybody in our family out, and so I just kinda took over all the cooking for our house for a super long time. I've since
Wow.
recovered, and I'm back on eating normally, but,
He's
I
back on the
went
meats.
I went off the, I found out I was, like, allergic to dairy, and I felt like being vegan was the easiest way to avoid that,
Oh,
and,
wow.
but then I kind of found my way back to, more regular style. And but anyway, I learned a lot about cooking in that era and I kind of took on a lot and I liked it. I actually grew up working at McDonald's like in high school and college. So
Uh,
I've always like cooked, but now I actually cook.
Cook, get a family cook. That's a secret to talent. Boom. Kill
Count it.
two birds with one stone.
Count
Would
it.
you rather speak every language or be able to speak to animals?
Oh, I think every language, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. 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 I would love that actually, like to be able to go anywhere in the world and communicate with people. I mean, bike riding is about the closest you can get. I've definitely been in places where, we've been able to communicate through our riding to,
Yeah.
like share the stoke with somebody. That's a really special feeling. But to be able to communicate with just about anybody, honestly, like it's probably not that far off, right? Like AI and tech and wearables and stuff like that. We'll probably be able to talk to just about anybody we want
Yeah,
in real time pretty soon here. But I think that'd be pretty cool.
we'll probably be able to talk to animals soon too.
Yeah, could
With all the
happen.
tech and the AI. What do my dogs say? I don't know if I want to know what my
Yeah,
dogs are
that's the
saying.
thing, like, I feel like they're probably really upset at us. Probably all of them are very upset at us, and I don't
Yeah,
know if
I'd
I'd
like to
wanna
go out more,
yeah.
but
Right.
they would just repeat it. It's like a bark. They would just keep going. I would like to go out more. Would like to go out more.
Yeah.
You don't got anything else going on. Aaron, I can't thank you enough for taking this time to be on my little show here.
This is fun. Thank you so
It,
much for the invite, and yeah, it was so fun just having a chat and talking about bikes. It's awesome.
it's so great to finally meet the man behind everyone's teacher, everyone's mountain bike coach. I really, this was great. Uh, Folks, thank you for, I'm losing my thought here. It was just so good. You're really good at this talking thing. You should probably do some podcasts or something.
Yeah, yeah, it's so fun just getting a chance to talk to people. I mean, that's the part I love the most about doing the Second Nature podcast too, is like I learned so much from all the people that we get to pull on and have deep talks with basically and do it on the internet, like for everyone else to share
Yeah.
too.
I'll have to put a link there, down there for that as well. Um, what can we look forward to in 2025 with Super Rider?
So I've got a bunch of mountain bike tutorials kind of planned, but I'm also going to start adding in some trial specific stuff. I'm kind of going to go back to the roots on some of this stuff just
Oh, wow.
because I feel like I've been teaching these same skills on a mountain bike, but there's always a little bit of nuance. And I think there are some people that are kind of on the line of like, I actually would like to learn trials. And a lot of the trials videos on my channel are a bit older. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's all the same information, but I just feel like I could do a better job presenting it and maybe making
Oh,
it more accessible to everybody. And so I'm going to add in a little bit more trials this year. The other thing I'm working on is I did that San Francisco video at the end of last year, and I really, really liked going on that trip and finding all the areas to go outside of the trails and the trails themselves and meeting some of the local riders that I hadn't met before. And I'd love to do that on a wider scale. So I'm actively kind of pitching and trying to get, a handful more of those trips planned so that we can go to different places and ride and kind of show what that place has to offer for people that might want to go visit. So
I love those tour videos. I like to
yeah.
see outside of just
Yeah.
the trail or the POV, just getting like, oh, if I'm in that area, check this
Right.
place out. Oh, I
That's
can't
like
wait.
I feel like there's going to be a point of sort of diminishing returns for, like I can keep teaching the same skills and keep repackaging and adding little bits and pieces and sharing a little
Yeah.
bit more. But ultimately, like if I do my job right, you probably don't need to come back to the channel because you already got to learn how to do that thing. You don't need it again.
Mhm.
So where I could go next is really like, okay, now that you have these skills, here's where you should go and apply those skills and
Nice.
show a little bit more of, kind of what I've got to offer and get a chance to just expand outside of my local trailhead in my basement here. If I can offer up something more to the world of mountain biking, I think that'd be a good one.
Awesome. I can't wait to see what you got going on in 2025. Thank you again. Thank your family for allowing me to take you away from them for the time. Folks, thank you for being in the live chat and mixing it up with them. Aaron here. It's always a pleasure. If you're new, like and subscribe. And I put all his stuff down there too. If you're new to Aaron and Super Rider, hit his stuff. I'm sure you're already there, but if you're new, hit it. I'm sure he'd love it because this is now his job. So thank you. Thank you so much, Aaron. Appreciate this. Folks, if you can, you know what to do. Go get your bike sturdy.